Here we go. And I always have a hard time with when I'm actually live, and eventually I'll get better at this. So I'm going to assume
that we're live. It says live.
We're live. Okay, here we go.
We know we're alive.
I love this impromptu live stuff. Hello, everybody. We would like to welcome everybody to another You Are Unlimited TV Facebook Live. And today we have a very special guest, which I love to work with, and I'm so excited to talk to, Sandy Reeves. And she has a great story that I'd like her to tell, but she does intention beads, which are talismans to manifestation and maybe things that you want to work on. I've worked with Sandy. I love the way that she works with astrology and talismans and manifestation and intentions. And I really hope that you will welcome her and enjoy her just as much as I do. So welcome and thank you for being with us, Sandy. And if you could tell people a little about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Thanks, JoAnne. It was great working with you as well. You know, I'm Sandy Reeve. I'm the founder and owner of Intention Beads. And just like this, I make talisman. They're made of clay beads, usually a bracelet in bracelet form. And I make the beads out of a millefiori art that I've created over the last 29 years. And as an astrologer now, I link my making of the beads to astrological transits. So when the universe is blessing us with beautiful, beautiful energies, I note this, I know in advance when it's coming. Mm-hmm. So I'm in my mantra, writing and making these beads that have that particular energy. You know, I was working this morning about 7 a.m. when Pisces was rising and Jupiter, which is the ancient ruler of Pisces, was up at the midheaven and in opposition to the moon. So this is about bringing abundance to one's career or one's reputation or one's public view. Mm-hmm. So by repeating a mantra at that exact time, I act as the conduit for that energy to come through and follow into this clay bead. And then I bake the bead and I string it into a beautiful bracelet with Swarovski crystals. And I always include a little dangle bead on it, which is the gratitude bead, because we must be grateful for everything we have. Why would the universe give us more? So we have to keep that link of what our requests and prayers and mantras are, and the thank you in return, the give and the receive. It's the male and female energy and beautiful alignment. So I've been doing this work for 9 years now. And I have this wonderful, people, clients, all my clients turn into friends because I get to know them so well and find my love for them is like unique. And I'm their 100%, cheerleader, their fan for them to arrive and develop and manifest their dream, their desire. We all have them, but when we can stay in the daily spiritual practice of repeating over and over again what it is we want to manifest in our lives, our subconscious our subconscious mind then aligns with our conscious mind. Our subconscious tells our conscious what to do. My phone at home never rings. I have to have a phone. I have to have a landline to have my security system in position. And so this was maybe that was a divine call.
I think it was.
Never rings.
It's very funny. Well, I think I have to show people this because this is really cool how this works. But this is how you get your beads. And it was funny how this one came because I was working with Sandy and she had done this particular intention that morning and it was right in connection with what was happening on my chart and needed to be my talisman. And so when you get it comes in a box. And so this would be your bead. And so this would be the energy that that Sandy had worked on that day. And then this is the gratitude bead that Sandy was talking about, because no matter what we do when we're having an attention, we always want to have gratitude. And that opens up when you're releasing and giving gratitude, then you're opening up more to come in. So that's not the, yeah, that was. Anyway, so I wanted to show people how beautiful it is when it comes. And as you had said, that I love, this is like, put it back to bed and keep it safe.
Yeah. And there's a card that comes with it with, you know, the intention, which is the goal, and the affirmation, that is what it is that you repeat every day, that I repeated. And again, the data points, you know, if any astrologer, just the data points. And sometimes those mean something to someone, you know, the date, the time, and the place where I was when I gathered this energy into a talisman. And, you know, we've heard that word, right? The word talisman. But often people don't know what it is. And talisman is a sacred art object, often made in clay, that is made at a certain time for a definite reason by a spirited creator. And so with all of that timing, it's usually always made back in the early centuries of talisman making during the astrological aspects. So it's always been watching the sky and finding the beautiful, you know, auspicious, beneficial, fortunate times to actually make a talisman. So, you know, it's the crystals, the beautiful crystals you have sitting to your left, you know, are also, those are, you know, stones, crystals that are born of the earth. These are amulets, right? They're amulets that have the energy of the earth. And formed in that way. A talisman has to be made at a certain time for a definite reason. So, you know, I've been a millefiori artist for, you know, 29 years, and an astrologer for the last 18, but not till 2010, when the transiting Uranus hit my natal sun, and I was in the garden, and I literally thought somebody had come up from behind me and spoke in my ear, and it kind of frightened me, and I fell forward into the dirt and hurried and scampered up thinking, oh my gosh, somebody's behind me, when I thought I was alone. And as soon as I stood up, no one was nearby, but I had heard the message, make beads at certain astrological transits, and you're making the definition of a talisman. And it just kind of blew my mind. I went inside, started writing immediately. Everything was downloading on how to do this. And it kind of recalled a 10-year prior to that moment with my first astrologer, who at some point in my teaching, because I started studying under her, Barbara Shermer. I want to bring her name up because she's passed, and maybe that was her calling me right now, because we've done this work in past lives together, and we came to, you know, together again in this lifetime to do the work. And then just as we're at this big pinnacle in this, you know, understanding of how to make a talisman that actually has the energy to vibrate at that level, she passes on. And I am here to continue this work, and with complete full force. But 10 years prior to that, so 20 years ago, she had told me that I'd be making talisman known around the world in 10 years time. And I really didn't believe it. I didn't understand how I would do that. I really didn't know what a talisman really was until that 10 years later got that message. And I've been on that force. So, I'm enthusiastic and support anyone that has an idea. We don't know where these come from, or do we?
Exactly.
That we need to move on a direction that we feel so connected to that we've never had before. And it does turn our head, and it turns our direction, and we have to trust in that, because you're all about change, right? You're to be the change agent or supporting it is key. We can't be the same. It's boring. It's right. We're in a rut, and we lose our freedom. We lose our sense of freedom, or our sense of individuality.
Mhm.
if we can't stay on the constant change, right? But change is,
It's going to happen.
frightening to somebody. Yeah. And you know what? Uranus is coming into Taurus
Mhm.
March 6th.
Mm.
It's March 6th is a big day for everyone on the planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little about why that's a big day?
It's when two things are happening this day.
Okay. March 6th.
March 6th.
Mm-hmm.
The Uranus, the planet of change, the awakener, the rebel, the freedom seeker, the planet that once is used as a lightning bolt to break things up. It's sudden, unpredictable, unexpected, sometimes chaos, disruption.
Mm-hmm.
That planet is moving its ingress. It's moving into the sign of Taurus. Now, Taurus, for all you Tauruses,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one thing you don't like is change. Right? Taurus is a fixed earth sign.
Mm-hmm.
It likes to stay predictable. It likes to stay steady, reliable, have stability. It's earth, right? It's we can always stay grounded, But here comes this Uranus into the sign for the next 7 years.
Wow.
So if any of us are 84 years or younger, have never seen Uranus in Taurus, because Uranus is an 84-year planetary cycle. So that means that none of us under 84 years of age have ever experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
So, it will change things that are Taurus-like, which is finances, which is our money. It's our savings. It's how we make our money. It's what we spend our money on. It's material possessions. It's things that are tangible, things that we can touch.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because Taurus also rules the five senses. So it's, it's the smells, it's the hearing, it's the tastes. So it's the touch. So it's Taurus, it's things that are tangible. Well, here comes the planet Uranus going up, change. So it's about agriculture because that's of the land. It's about land. It's about properties. So, things are changing. So anything that you feel that is stable and secure, I don't know about that, right? so, a good advice is to be flexible, right?
Yeah.
Change is coming, like you said.
Right. Well, I think too because what you're saying could bring fear, but that's not something to fear because change brings in new. So we don't want to be afraid. We want to be open and accept what change is coming so it can open up a new thing in our life, potentially.
Well, it will. And it's because we have our own set of values. It's going to change values. Values is also one of the keywords to Taurus and Venus. And, we've built our structures. We've built something that we can be grounded in. And Uranus is saying, no, you can't count on that anymore. So it really does put a kind of like wave into something that is flat or solid, but it's also about excitement.
Yeah.
Shake things up, man.
Exactly. And that's important. That's very important. So one of the things that we were talking about, you've got so many facets to you. So there's so much I want to cover in this conversation is we were talking about Mercury retrograde that's coming and the fact that a lot of times when Mercury retrograde comes, we get afraid. We get prepared for everything to go wrong. We set up this whole idea of what that's all about. Can you talk a little bit about that and when the next Mercury and retrograde is going to be happening?
So the next Mercury retrograde is also March 6th.
Lovely.
It's a big day.
It is a big day.
And Mercury retrograde, it's about 20 days long. So it's just about 3 weeks. And it retrogrades 3 times a year. So really it's every 4 months. So it is the one planet that retrogrades often and more often.
Mhm.
And because Mercury is one of the planets that rotates around the sun, is
Mhm.
why it is such a personal planet. And so it's very close to the Earth.
Mhm.
And so, and a side note, all planets retrograde, all of them, except for the sun and the moon. These are called stars. These are called luminaries. Those are not considered really planets, although we talk about them as such. But all planets retrograde. But Mercury, being the closest to us, is the most personal. And when it does, we do feel it. We can feel that, that clicking of changing tracks.
Yes.
And really, planets don't go backwards. They just appear to go backwards from our center here as we watch from
Uh-huh.
Earth.
Uh-huh.
And when Mercury goes retrograde, or any planet, we need to do the RE words. It's true. You might have heard this. So retrograde RE, to do the RE words: rest, relax, rejuvenate,
Mhm.
read, review, readjust. It's just the words that you could come up with. Retreat. I always run a retreat during a retrograde cycle. It's not Mercury I'm running for my Bali trip in April. It'll be the Jupiter is
Mhm.
retrograde
Okay.
in for my trip in April.
Mhm.
But Mercury retrograde is going to be retrograding at 29 degrees of Pisces.
Mhm.
So it stays in Pisces for what normally would be a 3-week period. It's going to stay there for almost 2 months.
Wow.
So anyone that has a Pisces planet,
Mhm.
my sun is in that at the end of Pisces, which is that 29 degree where it's going to station in retrograde. But anyone that has a planet in Pisces is going to feel this a little bit more. Anyone that has the opposition in Virgo is going to feel this a little bit more.
Mhm.
So the feeling of, relaxing,
Mhm.
not to make commitments.
Mhm.
See if you can review them or rewrite them or reread them so that you can understand a little bit clearer what the message is you're trying to get out. I usually tell clients, if you don't have to put out a email blast,
Mhm.
try not to do it either before or do it after. Don't set up don't introduce a new website. Don't introduce a new book. Anything that has to do with Mercury. And I learned early on the glyphs of Mercury has these two little like antennas, which really is the crescent moon that kind
Mhm.
of comes up like this on a round circle and then
Mhm.
across. And it's represented. It helps me to remember that this is antennas
Mhm.
are pulling in data. It's the
Mhm.
communication planet. So it's how we perceive information, figure things out in the mind, and then able to express them. But it
Mhm.
also means
Listening.
listening,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Because it's another way we perceive and gather information and data. So, maybe that's more to do is to listen to your dreams.
Mhm.
It's in Pisces.
Mhm.
Listen to what you're visioning. You're going to maybe daydream. Mercury went into Pisces on Sunday. And,
Mhm.
personally, I felt that. Mercury doesn't really like being in a cloudy water, jumping into the water of Pisces
Mhm.
and then not seeing clearly, right? Because it can be murky or confusing
Mhm.
under the sea. But the time is more about creative imaginatives.
Mhm.
Make something up.
Yes, exactly. I kind of, when you were talking, I was thinking we have so many different people that watch this. And so I know that there are a lot of people maybe that are not really familiar with real astrology. I mean, we probably read our astrology of the day or whatever. Can you talk a little bit maybe about how all of this really does work on us for some people that maybe not really pay attention to that or understand how all of these changes really affect us?
Well, they certainly, yeah. I mean, they affect us as the world, you know, as Earth being. And then they affect us individually. So, you know, mundane astrology is about the world and how it will affect, you know, the weather and the environment and the ground and our agriculture. You know, it affects politics. It affects, you know, the banking system, the money system, the values, inflation. But what I'm concerned about, what I love specifically, is how it affects us individually. And, you know, we're all born, we all take our first breath at some point in our life, right? That moment that we come out of this tunnel. And it's in that moment of first breath that we connect to the energies that are abound, right? That are out there. And that's why if you've ever had an astrology reading, it's like, you know, the date, the time, the year, the exact moment, if you can get the hour and minute, and the location, city and state, because it is about longitude and latitude. Where on the map, because where was the planets, you know, there's a picture that was taken when you took your first breath somewhere. And that's what is embedded as an astrologer. Astrologers do believe that we have our particular individual energy system. Right? And then, you know, we get that imprinted, and then we continue through our lives, but so do the planets. And the planets move in their planetary order. Some planets move really fast. The moon, that moves once a month.
I love that.
Yeah, Pluto is a 252-year cycle. Pluto can't even get around the entire zodiac in our lifetime. It takes 250-ish years. So, you know, the sun, we would know, goes around once a year, you know, in the entire 1 year, because we show up as a birthday on our birthday, which is called the solar return. Sun returns back to its same exact spot, degree and minute. So, you know, when we read in the paper, in the newspapers, the zodiac section, that has to do with our sun sign, right? Because everybody knows their sun sign, or should.
Right.
And, you know, it's hey babe, what's your zodiac sign? I know even when I teach sometimes at the Wanderlust festivals around the country, that some people don't even know that. And it's just one more piece of information I can teach, that where the sun was when you took your first breath is your zodiac sign. And, you know, some people are on the cusp, you know, we get that. Might have been born in the day that it would have changed signs. They really do need, you know, to put their data with their time in to get the real, because really, you know, yes, they're cusp babies, but you're either this or you're that. You know, you probably have planets. If you're a cusp baby, you most probably have planets in one or the other, or both, because the sun, remember, the Venus and Mercury rotate around the sun. So they don't leave the sun's vicinity very far. They're the two attendants to the sun.
Okay.
So, you know, yes, it has an effect. And really to understand that is to kind of pay attention and, you know, and sponge some of the, whether it's the mundane astrology of watching what's going to happen in the world for these next 7 years. We already see that politics and government is changing. We already have the impetus in position for this crazy change, whether we like it or not. Uranus doesn't say, hey, do you want this? You know, it doesn't ask us permission. Uranus does not say, you know, when's a good time for me to bring you a surprise?
Wish it did.
Right? Or maybe on Valentine's Day it does. But the surprise can be fretful or beautiful. So, you know, Uranus can bring that excitement, but it can bring it through chaos sometimes, or disruption. But when And we've all been there. We've all understood Uranus because we have a great plan for a day or a trip or a time period. And damn, universe has a different plan for us.
Yes.
Right? And it goes off our plan.
Yeah.
But what we can do is in that moment realize that maybe there's a better plan than we had for ourselves. So really to be open-minded, flexible, and giving an allowance to make some shifts over these next 7 years will bring us right to where we want to be when we take a deep breath and go, okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Yes, exactly. That's true. You were kind of touching on the sun sign, but I don't know, just to make clear that people understand that there's more to us than just our sun sign.
So, right. So that I was talking about the magazine, newspaper articles. Those are the sun signs. And, you can register with that. I'm sure some of them are like, boom, right on. That's how I felt today. That's right on. I'm going to use this as my mantra for the day. Do that. Absolutely. But if you want to take a dive, you need to know where your moon is, where your Venus, where your Jupiter, where your Saturn, where your Neptune, where your Pluto, where your Uranus, where your Mercury is. All of these planets have a position in your natal chart. What house are they in? What's your ascendant? How these planets are linked. This is geometry. This is like, mandala of how things are connected. Are they easy? Are they more challenging? You and I have worked together for that 2-month period and watched in that 2-month period how things were easy and things were in conflict. But the conflicts are the best growth periods.
And I was going to bring that up, that you teach and you teach astrology, and you also teach about you personally in this time frame that you go through, and they vary depending on what's going on or what time is happening. But that's the most amazing thing about it, is you take personally what that person is going through, and you're also teaching in a bigger picture about astrology and how all the different planets and the houses all work together. So do you have another one coming up soon?
Yes, March 6th.
March 6th. Perfect time to jump in.
It's another big, and March 6th is our next new moon. So and they're called constellation bracelet workshops. Because at the end of this workshop, which is 12 Zoom calls, I say they're an hour, but they might go over.
They do a little bit. Yeah,
but they're recorded and they're specific to, I only take eight people because that's a sacred number, and I don't want it to take too much time. But I go through the energy of the moment. I go through how the energy is affecting each one of the participants, and I show it on my Zoom calls, and I use my fun little highlighter and I'm showing, and and then we set an intention. Everybody has their own intention. We go into a little mini 5-minute meditation where I'm literally cutting with the clay and the razor blade. I'm cutting. Actually, Alex has it set up so you can see me doing it. And then we roll a bead exactly for each one of the participants' mantra, their affirmation.
I want to show, this is basically one of the charts that I have that you went through, if everybody can see it. This is one of mine on a specific day. And as you can see, that Sandy puts a lot of work into it, because this is what's happening for me on this particular day, which I think was the 7th of December. And then she took the time to write out some of the very important things. So the other thing that's really cool about this is through our conversation and seeing this, then we actually can come up with a mantra of our own that's going to be pertinent, that goes on a bracelet. And then we have the gratitude bead as well, to make sure that we are staying in gratitude for what the universe is opening up for us. So this is a lot of work. And the great thing about it is that she walks through all of these different signs, all these different planets, what's actually happening and how they're conjunct or triangled or sextiled. I'm learning all these different words now. So it's not like you're just sitting there and listening. You're actually proactive in this entire event. You're learning a lot about what's happening in the real world at that real time. And it was a very fantastic experience to learn about astrology and also learn about myself at the same time.
Because you were living it.
Right.
We were in that day, we were in that moment. So I could say something like this would have occurred today or a few days ago or is on the precipice. So how will you handle that when it comes in, right? And so setting that intention and affirmation at that time just allows you how to work with the energy. That's really all we need to do is really learn how to work with our own energy and the energy that's coming in surrounding us, because it's here. It's here.
And we're not getting away from it.
It's going to find you, right?
It's going to find you, exactly.
I mean, like I said, the Uranus is the next big thing that all the astrologers are talking about as the bigger picture for the next 7 years. So, to not be shocked.
Yeah.
Like in 7 years' time, our government, our money, the way we eat, the way we grow our food, how cows are going to be milked, that is all changing, and, that also on March 6th is my Uranus and Taurus webinar. It's just like a one day, well, it's a 2.5 hour Zoom call where I make a bead for everyone. I do everyone's chart and I give them 7 years of dates where Uranus will be hitting each of their natal planets, the date and a brief little description of what to expect, how to prepare. Don't be surprised. Work, co-create your life.
Right. And that's important. And I think that's what's so helpful about it. So because you were even talking about times about writing a book, times about putting something out into public, times about being a lot more careful when you're driving your car because this is going on, or there's and one of the things that you do is you work with people that are starting businesses. Like, what is a good time to birth that business? What's going to happen? And what does the chart look like even when you're going forward into something like that? So that's a really important thing.
Yeah, it's electional timing, electional charting, and it's electing a time that's best for a particular action or event to occur, to have its best legs.
Yeah.
My dad would call it land legs, like where you can start moving forward. And, going back to the Mercury retrograde is not a good time to put a book out. It's a good time to maybe get it to the publisher. So the publisher can do an edit, right? The editor is rereading it, notes. That's a good time for that. So there are good times to do things with retrograde and spend time to regenerate.
Right.
And I'll give you a couple more dates. So Mercury retrogrades on the 6th for everybody and comes out of the retrograde on March 28th. So, this time period is that three weeks that, you're not going to, if you have to travel during that time, I get it. I do, but I've booked my flights in advance. So if you book your flights really, at least by that March 6th date, that nothing will go askew, but, recheck. I mean, I remember a story when my daughter was old enough. I mean, she's 31 now. But she was old enough to go to Europe by herself, and she put all the plans together, and she knew where she was going. She made all of her flight arrangements. I think she was probably like 19 or 20 years old. And I had said, oh, the date you're flying, we get the Mercury retrograde starts that day. So all I'm going to say is double check, triple check, all of your plans. I'm now taking her to the airport that morning, and she says, we have to be there by 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, get her there, get out. And I help her inside, and she's looking up on the board and her flight's not there. And I go ask the attendant, and the lady said, oh, the 9 a.m. flight to England? Oh yeah, that left at 9 a.m. And she had had it in her head. It was 9 a.m. that she had to get there. No, the plane took off at 9 a.m.
Oh
So it's
no.
just this little like twerking, I don't know,
Uh-huh.
of word of, the details.
Yes.
So just by paying attention to that,
Right.
is that recheck,
Right.
you. That's all it's asking to do.
Yeah.
Interesting. I bought my new computer
Hmm.
during a Mercury retrograde. And I don't
Hmm.
know if I did it on purpose or Microsoft was having a deal. They were giving
Okay.
$300 off a computer, and it was going to be my secondary computer.
Uh-huh.
So I went ahead and bought it, and I'm like, here's an astrologer buying a computer, which is a no-no during
Uh-huh.
retrograde, and just to save $300. And I've had minimal issues with it, but not so many that I want to throw it to the wall. But
Uh-huh.
I'm having issues with it. But
Yeah.
again, I'd rather, you know, I guess I was testing it out. So, those are the dates for this Mercury retrograde. And also, they're the dates for this constellation bracelet that I'm running. Is my next one.
Hmm.
So it starts on March 6th, and the first call's at 11:22 a.m. And that's the other thing, right, JoAnne? They're all different
Yes.
times.
And tell people why you have the calls at those specific times.
Because
And there's a reason
that's when it's auspicious to make a talisman
for it.
for that particular energy. So
Mhm.
I've got all of the different energies, and we're doing the new moon. We'll be pulling in these three things:
Mhm.
Mercury retrograde,
Mhm.
new moon,
Mhm.
and Uranus and Taurus will all go into that first bead of the bracelet. And interesting that it took our group.
Mhm.
I had that planned out over a 2-month period.
Mhm.
We had Christmas in there. I had a retreat in Mexico.
Mhm.
Um, that I spread that out over 2 months. This one is in 3 weeks,
Mhm.
which we end on the Mercury going direct. This will be a constellation bracelet program on how to work with Mercury retrograde for these 3 weeks and how it affects your natal chart. Because I do a good hour and a half pre-call to
Mhm.
all of the participants,
Mhm.
so that I have a one-on-one with you
Mhm.
prior to getting on all these multiple calls. But
Mhm.
we share when we get to our private group on,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that's what happened, Mars is hitting this, what kind of, oh yeah, I got angry today, yeah, that was exactly supposed to happen,
Yes.
just so that you
Exactly.
recognized and noticed it. It's kind of brilliant. It's like
Yeah.
OMG,
It
right?
really is. I agree. And there were times we would be like, "Oh, no wonder. Oh, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
And
you understand things."
you understand, and that's how I like to teach astrology. I mean,
Mhm.
I am putting together a kind of an easy,
Mhm.
not doing as much traveling in
Mhm.
2019,
Mhm.
a lot of webinar programs, because as I've been out there in the world for the 7 to 9 years, doing events and doing Hay House and Celebrate Your Life and working with Colette Baron Reed, and I'm staying more closer to home to do the teaching of it, because more and more people want to learn astrology. And let me remind you that Uranus also rules astrology. It rules
Mhm.
the physical world. So there is a new feeling of, as action is being taken for change in the
Mhm.
world, the entire world, that we need to go into the, that spiritual sense of the metaphysical world.
Right.
That we need to blend more with our spiritual needs, not our material needs. So
Mhm.
I felt that this was a good time to start teaching these little classes, these webinars, so that others can take a hold, like I want them to, like they should, like they can co-create.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm doing, and I'm doing a small little webinars on the planets and what
Mhm.
signs they rule, what what houses they rule, what the house systems are. So I'll be doing these little snippets of things that'll be on my website. And anybody that's registered, or maybe the word is subscribed
Mm-hmm.
to my intentionbeads.com. You
Mm-hmm.
have to go on and subscribe yourself. I can't put you in.
Mm-hmm.
That gets all this information, to their email.
And
Or
we tried to get you to put us in. We couldn't do it. We tried.
because Alex says we can't do it. It won't go. It's like some of the new, you have to go on your own and do it.
You have to do that. But I want to let everybody know that after this call, all your information will be posted. So they will be able to connect with you for sure. And, it really is important to know about, I didn't have any clue about these houses and how all these things all interact into our daily life. And to actually understand it is really helpful in our daily life, or anticipating things that are going to happen in our life. So,
well, I mean, you miss Sagittarius, right? You've got so many planets in Sagittarius, and you've got Jupiter there. You just finished. Well, it's not even done yet. You had your first pass of your Jupiter return, right? That comes in every 12 years, 12, 24, 36, and beyond.
Yeah.
So that Jupiter return is a big step up a ladder to see plateaus, JoAnne. So for you to be doing more of this expansion, growth in the spiritual life,
right?
This is right where you should be, with no fear. You can be like, oh, just right.
No, I think my fear was the last part of my life. This is a no fear zone now. Now it's time to just be and go forward. Yeah, for sure.
Right. It's this Jupiter is in Sagittarius and is hitting all of your Sagittarius planets. And it's saying, hey, JoAnne, who's buoyant anyway, who's always, happy and gregarious, gets to be more of that. Right?
Oh, I don't know if anybody around me can handle that more.
More, because it'll be on a higher level.
Yes,
on a higher plane. Right. So that was exciting for me, looking at your chart when we were working through. It says, make some plans to make yourself, your aura, aura bigger for more people to see. Yeah.
That's what we're working on for sure. Yeah. And you touched on it, but let's go a little deeper. You have a retreat that is scheduled for April 15th. In Bali. Can you talk a little about what actually will happen there? What is this trip about?
So it's my annual Bali retreat. This will be the 4th or 5th time that I've taken a group. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And I believe that everybody should visit Bali once in their life, because this sense of Balinese peace and oneness with the earth and the flowers and other people that base their happiness on just in the moment. Most of them don't have refrigerators. They go to the Balinese market every morning to get the food they need for that day. They grow their own food that they need. And when they love and take care of the land, take care of their property, take care of their plants and vegetation, they know they can be nourished. And this is how they grow their families. They live on compounds. They live in family compounds. Their deities, their gods, they're very ancestral. They believe in karma for sure. They have many, many ceremonies and festivities that are bringing back their ancestors, that they go into a trance and bring back their ancestors to the earth. And then they learn from that and send them back away, like 7 days later. But the Balinese, it's this Bali retreat my daughter and I run, is we started on the 15th and we ended on the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good, it's 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
We stay in Ubud, right in the spiritual mountains where all the rice fields and paddies are,
Mm-hmm.
where Monkey Forest is. It's where the hot spot of spirituality lives in Ubud. And then we'll be there for about 7 or 8 nights. And then the last few nights we are going to move to a little closer to the ocean. Mm-hmm. So we have more of the beach area. Mm-hmm. But the day excursions, all the day excursions are included in the price. Mm-hmm. All of the lodging is included in the price. Majority of the food and the meals is included. Mm-hmm. All of the entrance fees to the temples will go to the Turta Ampul, where we will purify, and that's the one that's probably the one picture everybody sees from Bali, where the 11 fountains are coming down from the spring water, and you're in the water and you're blessing and you're doing, certain things, and you're learning new ancient techniques on how to surrender to universe and the world and be happy. It's simple. Mm-hmm. These people have very little, but they smile, they give honors to each other. Mm-hmm. They wear flowers behind their head that they've prayed and they've had their meditation for the day. There's incense burning. They put incense sticks at every deity, every statue, several times a day with live fresh flowers. Mm-hmm. Every day. It's and then I teach astrology. Then we go into class. It's an outdoor. You should go to the website intentionbeads.com and click through and see the video of last year's retreat, and you'll see the work. What our we do daily yoga, although we are not a yoga retreat, but we do daily yoga. But then I teach astrology based on your natal chart. I'm teaching you your astrology. And the cool thing about that, as we did with the constellation bracelet workshop, we see everybody's different energies. You are not like anyone else. They are not like us. They like that and we don't. Peace to them, right?
Exactly.
So, right. And we get to stand in our individualness and find our own inner and outer beauty. So it's a place where, and I have a few more spots available. I take a very small group because it's an intimate. I like intimacy, right? Yeah, I do. It's Valentine's Day.
Yes.
So I like
today.
Say that.
Did you do an intention bead today for Valentine's Day?
This morning. Yeah.
What's the intention? Can you tell people?
Yeah, it's to gain abundance in a career.
Okay.
It's about having where I don't have my paper with me here, but it's about having joy and positive attitude, positive temperament, and positive influence that comes through you to others in your public view.
Oh.
This morning. It's not on the website yet, but it'll probably
keep that in mind if anybody's still looking for a special gift. It's special, unique. You're not going to find it anywhere else.
I make one bracelet at a time.
Yeah.
They hold the power, and I do an activation call once you get the bracelet. So, yours here in a minute, or maybe tomorrow. But I do readings. I do astrology readings. I do retreats. I do workshops. I do webinars. Those are the new big thing, because then you can stay, in your privacy of your own home and be part of this information.
Yes.
So.
Well, I took you off the ball. I didn't mean to. So if you are interested in that event, in the retreat, then you can. Yes, thank you, Marcia. She's looking at my crystals. They're beautiful, aren't they? I will post your website. So people can go and look at that and look at the video. It's really beautiful, and seeing how you teach, and the fact that you could be right there and learn in real time would be really beautiful.
Right. We make Talisman, and then there's always so many secrets and surprises because Alex and I we're both Pisces, and we're incredibly creative, I think. And And then it's just going to the rice paddies and to the monkey forest and to eat Balinese food, going to see the Balinese dance, shopping. Oh,
Really?
your money goes a long way.
Okay.
Money goes a long way.
Wow.
So yeah, if anybody's interested, reach out. There's a little button on there to tap if you want a 15-minute complimentary reading based on the energy that will be present for you on that April 15th to 26th timeframe. So I offer that complimentary if you're interested in the retreat. So go ahead, sign up. I've got some spaces for that. But we're getting closer. We're under, we're just under 2 months, because you should have already been in the plane by now in 2 months. And I can help you with any of the arrangements of the flights, my favorite airlines, how to go. We're just a bevy of information. And, come with someone, or if you come by yourself. I've got a lot of people that are coming by themselves this time. That, because that's part of the journey. It's a long flight, everybody.
Oh, it is.
Flight.
I saw that.
It's part of the journey of going in and going, I can do this. You don't have to drive the plane. You don't have to figure out where you're going. You just have to get on and get off.
And you help people with figuring out where you may want to do the stopover, or connecting with other people and fly with them. And so you're helping people with that. So don't feel like you have to do it alone.
No, we're pairing people up that are coming from or they'll land at Doha, and they'll be gathering, and we're doing a Zoom call so everybody gets to meet each other. We'll be doing that in about a 3-week period for packing, and less is more. This is a place that less is more.
Okay.
Perfect. So yeah, we've got some spaces. Come on.
What do you think is the biggest myth that people have about astrology?
Oh, it doesn't work, or it's of the devil, right? It has negative connotations. It had gotten, once the religion versus spirituality, we can be both. We can be both. I am both. But astrology is mostly used in the spiritual world. And, some of the religions, and particularly mine, 300, 400 years ago was banned, because only God could be, can tell your fate. And that there is no predictive. Astrology can't tell you who you're going to be, what you're going to be, and when something's going to happen. Only God can. So that would be the one biggest issue for me and for most astrologers that say, for those that say, oh no, only God can predict. That God made the planets,
How do you answer? I mean, to me, that's the most ridiculous statement I've heard, because you were created on that day in that energy. So it's a public notice what God created, in my opinion.
In fact, I believe that we chose the time to be born. I believe that we chose what connection we needed to make here on earth. I believe in reincarnation. Some don't, some do. I believe that I came back down here to further the universe, specifically for what I'm doing now, the talisman making and the astrology. I started my first part of my career in radiology, which was study of the unknown energy and how it helps heal and look inside the body. Astrology is just the same thing, unseen energy on how it can help heal and look inside the body. So I've been on my path ever since I was in 7th grade, and just got recognition again. But that fact that we all are on our path.
Yes.
But then we get, we get born. We are born, and then we are conditioned. And that conditioning is what can sometimes be the layers that are hard to remove.
Yes.
And sometimes the disbelief in astrology, I think, is just based on those conditioning layers that have come on to whatever household, social, economic, religious arena, political arena that we were born into.
Right. And it could be hard, but it's not impossible. You can start thinking for yourself and exploring these things and find the truth. Because when you do look into these types of learning opportunities, you find that it's not as scary as it may have seemed to you to be, and that you can actually start seeing how your life really, especially with astrology, how your life really did play out based on where and when you were born. No matter how you look at it, you are doing that. You're living that path.
Well, and some, people don't get astrology readings until later in life. You don't see a 3-year-old, right? So it's later in life that you're going, oh yeah, that validating. My daughter calls it astrology reading. It's validating and motivating.
Yes.
It allows you to say, yeah, you're on the right path.
Right.
If you're in a conundrum,
yes.
Even if you've exited off the highway, you had to have learned some way.
Yeah.
And challenges come up there. Earth is not an easy place.
No.
So we're here for a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and we're here to do Earth the best we can do Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we leave again, we go up to to our spirit life and get and get assessed. Mm-hmm. And we assess ourselves and we get assessed. And did I do what's proper? Did I do what's right? Did I learn? Did I grow? Mm-hmm. Do I need to go back down onto Earth to reincarnate to continue to learn? Mm-hmm. And the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So do you in the best fashion that makes you happy. Right. And your happiness will make everyone else in your life happy.
It really will.
And if it doesn't, those aren't the people for you.
Yes.
We don't want to be, we don't want to do negative,
mm-hmm.
Malefic actions, mm-hmm. and, manipulations. Mm-hmm. But, if we ever do, we see the repercussions of that, and we have consequences to pay, which makes life harder and more challenging.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right? Exactly.
So, whether we use crystals and talismans, mm-hmm. that these are truly art objects that hold an energy that mm-hmm. allows us to feel mm-hmm. co-creative. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's a tool. It's not a crutch. It's not something that's going to manifest something for you. You still have to do your work. It's a tool to help us to go forward, and
it's a tool
and live. So you still have to do the work. And to know how to do the work. That's the thing that I have loved the most about it. It's to know how to do the work, or to know the directions to go or not to go, or this is not the right time. Those are very important tools as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when we get a Mars return, which happens in 2 years, mm-hmm. that gives us new 2-year energy. Get mm-hmm. a plan together that mm-hmm. that lasts 2 years, because mm-hmm. right before that Mars return, we may feel lethargic. We may not have a whole lot of energy. Mm-hmm. Well, perfect. Anticipate that, mm-hmm. because you're about to get re-energized. So know those dates, know those times when large situations will occur in your life, mm-hmm. so that you're with them and you understand. I know, my dad recently passed away, mm-hmm. and I don't do, and I don't know why that is, other than I really don't either have the time. I've done my mom and dad's chart, I've done my kids' charts, I do that, but I don't watch them daily or weekly to say, oh my gosh, this is coming up. Mm-hmm. But when my dad died, he was not expected. He wasn't even sick. Mm-hmm. He was 88. Mm-hmm. But when I went back and looked, I could have seen that as a time that he would have left.
Wow.
So the fact that he was supposed to go then, but I didn't anticipate it. Mm-hmm. So looking backwards, as a post thought, mm-hmm. that, oh my God, it was just all in divine timing, and go, daddy, go, right? Go. So, life is beautiful if we can see through those. Sometimes we have to use rose-colored glasses.
Right.
but
Mhm.
we can't keep those glasses on. We have to take them off and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that to be pre-warned and prepared is helpful. So, and we can be a lot more prepared in our life than what we actually are. So I would
Right.
encourage people to get that kind of information if they can.
Right. And it's for everyone. Everyone is an individual. You can't say to,
Right.
the two Sues in your life that
Mhm.
that these things are going to happen for you at the same
Mhm.
time. They're not.
Right.
There's chart patterns.
Mhm.
And it's literally it's geometry.
Yeah.
It's science.
Yeah.
It's one of the oldest sciences.
Mhm.
So, astronomers and astrologers were the same person
Mhm.
back in the day before, a religion came in and separated them
Mhm.
and said astrology doesn't work, but
Mhm.
we obviously see the sun, we
Yeah.
obviously see the planets. That is true, but not the energy that it provides for us earthlings on Earth.
Just to let everybody know, and I didn't know this happens, but there's people that don't know when they were born. So there are ways to still find out when you were born. If you're working with a good astrologer, they can help you find your time of birth.
So there's a thing called rectification.
Mm-hmm.
Quite intense and
Mm-hmm.
complicated. I don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, a fellow astrologer
Mm-hmm.
also does. He doesn't do the rectifications, but he does the kinesiology
Mm-hmm.
of when you were born. And
Mm-hmm.
anyone that goes on a retreat with me or goes into this, like the constellation bracelet program,
Mm-hmm.
that if I'm using your chart over and over and over again, I'm going to want you to have the right birth time,
Right.
right? Your muscle has memory.
Mm-hmm.
And this gentleman, I connect you with him. He
Mm-hmm.
does it over the phone. And you go through a system of repetition. He tells you what to say. And he
Mm-hmm.
watch your body when you get to the exact time.
Mm-hmm.
Watch your body react and give
Mm-hmm.
it time. So I send many people to him if I'm going to work with them one-on-one for a long period of time, or they're going on retreat with me.
Mm-hmm.
I know my mom guessed, it's not on my birth certificate. My mom guessed between 3 and 3:30 on March 19th. And I had been using 3:30. And when I met Dr. Philip, maybe 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I told him I didn't know, and he had me go to his office, and we did it in person.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of collapsed, and got really isolated on the time. And when I got to 3:29 p.m., my body fell on the floor, rolled into a ball, and I started wailing, crying.
Wow.
So, obviously I was born at 3:29 p.m. So now I use that time, but I was really close.
Yeah.
So there are ways. Yes,
Yeah.
there are ways to find your exact time
Mm-hmm.
if you're unable to find it on a birth certificate. And, moms don't always remember.
No, you don't. It's not that we don't love you. It's just that we just forgot the exact time. You'll never get the day. I mean,
Right.
you never forget that moment.
Or the story that went along with, oh, this happened and I had to go there and had to get rid of the kids. And you can kind of feel, if it's morning or night. But yes, there is a way.
Yeah, there is. So is there any tidbit that you would want to leave with everybody that you think would be the most important message to leave with them?
To really, through these next few years, know that your individuality needs to shine.
Mm-hmm.
It's really time for you to break from conventional situations or places, things, or people. Even relationships can change during this, if you're honest. That you're doing things by rote because that's what you were taught.
Mm-hmm.
So that if you can identify who you are as an individual and bring your unique gifts, because for you to be different than your neighbor or your brother that's inspiring.
Yes.
be alike, because your individuality allows other people to stand in their individual expression.
Yes.
And that I think is a really good tidbit right now because of what's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And, things are changing, and be excited, be excited to shake up your life too, because
Yes.
it is about freedom.
Yes.
It's about feeling alive
Mm-hmm.
and having new experiences, new adventures,
Mm-hmm.
new information, studying new things, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how old you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I can't get enough education. That's awesome. Again, if you go to intentionbeads.com, you could get a hold of you.
yes.
I will post all of this on here so people can easily link to you. And check out Sandy's website because it's beautiful, and all of her work is really, really beautiful. And I really want to thank you for spending this time with all of my viewers and sharing with this great audience the beautiful work that you do.
Thank you, JoAnne. I would love being on the other side of you anytime.
Thank you.
Dinner or cocktails or just having a conversation or a hug, and happy Valentine's Day.
To you too, and everybody who is watching this, thank you for watching, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Right. Love on yourself tonight.
Yes. It's
yes. Yeah.
all right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Bye.